Part 1, imagine this. 10 years from now, you stop at a red light and glance at the car beside you. The person inside looks calm, confident, free. They're living the life you once promised yourself you would build. For a second, you wonder what they had that you didn't. Better luck? A richer family? More talent? Then a thought hits you harder than failure ever could. What if the only difference was that they were willing to pay a price you kept avoiding? Asterisk. That thought has the power to change your life, because success has never been reserved for a lucky few. It has never hidden behind perfect timing. And it has never asked anyone to be extraordinary before they begin. It asks for one thing, a price. Not once, every single day. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every person watching this video is already paying a price. The question is, what are you paying for? Are your daily choices buying the future you dream about, or are they quietly purchasing a lifetime of regret? Most people never stop to ask themselves that question. They wake up, check their phone, rush through another day, tell themselves they'll start tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And before they realize it, an entire decade has disappeared. Not because life was unfair, but because comfort is incredibly expensive. The dangerous part is that comfort never sends you a bill. It takes payment in small amounts. One excuse, one missed opportunity, one promise you break to yourself. 1 hour wasted. None of those moments seem important. That's exactly why they become so dangerous. A single drop of water can't sink a ship, but thousands of unnoticed leaks eventually will. Life works the same way. Your future is rarely destroyed by one catastrophic decision. It's shaped by hundreds of invisible ones. That's the pattern Earl Nightingale spent years trying to understand. Why do some people build lives that seem impossible from the outside, while others, with just as much intelligence and potential, stay trapped in the same place year after year? His answer wasn't based on luck. It wasn't based on talent. It wasn't based on education. He discovered that successful people had learned something most never do. They stopped asking, what do I need to get? And started asking, who do I need to become? That question changes everything, because success is never something you chase. It's something your habits attract. Imagine two people standing at the bottom of the same mountain. Both have the same dream. Both are excited. Both promise they'll reach the top. The first person climbs only when the weather feels perfect. The second climbs whether it's cold, whether it's raining, whether anyone is watching or not. At the beginning, they look almost identical. After 1 month, there's barely any difference. After 1 year, the gap becomes visible. 5 years later, one is standing at the summit. The other is still explaining why they never started. The mountain wasn't unfair. The price was simply higher than one of them expected. That's what destroys so many dreams. People underestimate the cost of becoming the person they admire. They see confidence. They don't see years of self-doubt that had to be overcome. They see wealth. They don't see the nights filled with uncertainty. They see discipline. They don't see the thousands of moments when quitting would have felt easier. We live in a world obsessed with results. Social media celebrates the finish line. Almost nobody celebrates the thousands of lonely steps that came before it. And because of that, millions begin comparing someone else's victory to their own first chapter. It's one of the fastest ways to destroy motivation. Behavioral psychologists call it present bias. Your brain naturally overvalues what feels good right now and undervalues rewards that arrive later. That's why sleeping in feels more attractive than training. That's why spending money feels easier than investing it. That's why scrolling endlessly feels effortless, while building a meaningful life feels difficult. Your brain isn't trying to make you successful. It's trying to keep you comfortable. Thousands of years ago, that instinct kept people alive. Today, it quietly keeps people average. But here's where everything changes. The people who build extraordinary lives aren't fearless. They simply stop treating discomfort like danger. They understand something the average person never does. Every uncomfortable decision is making a deposit into the future. Every easy decision without purpose is making a withdrawal. And whether you realize it or not, your future account is growing or shrinking with every choice you make. But there's another price, a hidden one, almost nobody sees until it's too late. And once you understand what it is, you'll never look at success or your own excuses the same way again. Part 2. The hidden price isn't your time. It isn't your energy, and it isn't your money. The highest price success will ever ask you to pay is your old identity. That's the payment most people refuse to make, because changing your schedule is difficult. Changing your habits is harder, but changing the way you see yourself, that feels almost impossible. Think about someone who has spent years saying, I'm just not disciplined. Or, I'm terrible with money. I've never been confident. At first, those sound like harmless opinions, but over time, they become identities, and once an identity takes root, your brain begins protecting it even when it's hurting you. This is one of the most powerful discoveries in modern behavioral psychology. People don't simply act according to what they want. They act according to who they believe they are. That's why someone can desperately want to become successful, yet keep making decisions that guarantee they never will. Not because they lack motivation, because every action that challenges their identity feels uncomfortable. Imagine trying to quit smoking while secretly believing you'll always be a smoker, or trying to become financially free while constantly telling yourself you're bad with money. Every decision becomes a battle, not against the habit, against yourself. Earl Nightingale understood this long before it became a popular psychological principle. He believed your outer world eventually reflects your inner world, not overnight, but inevitably. Your thoughts influence your actions. Your actions create your habits shape your character, and your character quietly builds your future. That's why success isn't created on the day you achieve a goal. It's created in the hundreds of ordinary days before anyone notices. Picture a sculptor standing in front of a massive block of stone. A single strike with the chisel changes almost nothing. The second strike looks just as meaningless. The 10th, the 100th, even the 1000th. Still, the statue remains hidden. Then one day, a final strike breaks away a large piece of stone. Everyone watching thinks that last hit created the masterpiece. But it didn't. Every strike mattered, even the ones that appeared to accomplish nothing. Your life follows the same pattern. Every workout, every page you read, every dollar you save, every difficult conversation you choose not to avoid, every promise you keep to yourself. Each one feels insignificant. Together, they become the person you are becoming. This is where almost everyone quits. Not because they're weak, because they expect visible results from invisible work. When those results don't appear fast enough, they assume the effort isn't working, so they stop, without realizing they were often closer than they imagined. Nature has always understood something humans forget. A seed spends weeks growing underground before anyone sees the first sign of life. The roots come first. The growth comes later. Imagine digging up that seed every morning just to check if it's growing. You'd destroy the very progress you were hoping to see. Yet that's exactly what people do with their goals. They start a business, give it a few months. No major success. They quit. They begin exercising. 2 weeks later, the mirror hasn't changed enough. They quit. They start learning a valuable skill. Progress feels slow. They quit. The dream wasn't impossible. Their patience simply expired before the results arrived. That's why delayed gratification is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. The ability to sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom separates those who merely wish from those who actually build extraordinary lives. But don't misunderstand this. Delaying gratification doesn't mean living a miserable life. It means refusing to trade your future for temporary pleasure. Every decision is an exchange. Every yes is also a no. When you say yes to distraction, you're saying no to mastery. When you say yes to comfort, you're often saying no to growth. When you say yes to excuses, you're quietly saying no to the future version of yourself. The question isn't whether you'll pay a price. You will, everyone does. The only choice you have is which price hurts more, the temporary pain of discipline or the permanent pain of regret. And there's one final truth that makes this decision even more urgent, because time has been charging you every single day. Whether you've noticed it or not, the clock has never stopped. It didn't pause when you lost motivation. It didn't wait while you searched for the perfect opportunity. And it certainly didn't slow down because life became difficult. Time is the only currency every human being spends at exactly the same speed. The billionaire can't buy more of it. The genius can't create more of it. The most disciplined person on earth receives the same 24 hours as the person who spends the day making excuses. The difference isn't time. It's what each person is willing to exchange it for. Think about the greatest builders in history. Cathedrals that took decades to complete. Companies that started in a garage. Championships won after years of invisible practice. None of them were built in moments of inspiration. They were built by people who kept showing up after inspiration disappeared. That's the part our culture rarely celebrates. We admire the finished masterpiece. We ignore the thousands of ordinary days that made it inevitable. And maybe that's why so many people stay stuck. They've been taught to chase motivating a system. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation asks, how do I feel today? Discipline asks, who am I becoming? One changes with the weather. The other changes your life. Imagine an airplane leaving New York for Los Angeles. If the pilot changes the direction by only a few degrees, nothing seems different during the first hour. The passengers don't notice. The sky looks the same. The journey feels the same. But by the end of the flight, the airplane lands hundreds of miles away from its intended destination. Life works exactly like that. Small daily choices don't seem powerful. Until years pass. A few extra hours spent learning. A few dollars consistently invested. One difficult workout. One honest conversation. One promise kept to yourself. Individually, they feel ordinary. Collectively, they determine where you land. That's why success is never one giant decision. It's thousands of tiny decisions that all point in the same direction. Earl Nightingale believed that your future is built long before it becomes visible. Not because of luck. Not because the universe randomly rewards a few people, but because every repeated thought becomes a repeated action. Every repeated action becomes a habit. Every habit slowly becomes your identity. And your identity shapes your destiny. The person who becomes successful isn't someone who magically changes one morning. They simply become the kind of person who keeps the promises they make to themselves, even when nobody is watching, even when progress feels invisible, even when quitting seems reasonable. That's the real price of success. Not suffering, not endless sacrifice, but the willingness to become someone your current self doesn't fully recognize, to trade comfort for growth, distraction for purpose, excuses for ownership, immediate pleasure for lasting fulfillment. Most people refuse to make that exchange, not because they can't, because they don't realize what it's costing them. Every year they wait, the price of staying the same becomes even higher. And one day, they wake up to discover that the life they wanted wasn't stolen from them. It slowly slipped away through thousands of choices that felt harmless in the moment. But here's the good news. If small decisions can quietly build an average life, they can just as quietly build an extraordinary one. You don't have to change everything today. You don't have to know every answer. You don't have to feel fearless. You only have to make one decision. Stop negotiating with the life you know you're capable of living. Because the future you've been waiting for isn't waiting for perfect conditions. It's waiting for a different version of you, a version that understands one timeless truth. Success has a price. The question has never been whether it's expensive. The question is whether the life you'll live without it is even more expensive. 10 years from now, you'll either thank yourself for paying that price, or you'll wish you had started today. That choice has always been yours. If this message gave you a new perspective, subscribe for more timeless lessons inspired by Earl Nightingale, and let me know in the comments, what price are you finally willing to pay?